Welcome back, Riders of Calradia, to Mountain Blade Bannerlord. I am the Irish Warrior, and I take whiskey with my tea. So today, no, move. Okay, so today I want to talk about laying siege to castles. There's three basic ways you can lay siege to an enemy fief. I'm not going to go through each way showing you all the different ways that I fight. I'm just going to cut through to the very end and show you what the casualties are and how each siege method affects the outcome of the battle. So there are, like I said, three basic ways of laying siege to an enemy position, each one with their own advantages. Now, at this point of the game, we just went to war with Sturgia, and it ends badly for Sturgia, just so you know. So I'm going to take Dungarees here. There's a few things you need to make sure of before you lay siege. I don't have the largest army right now. If I want, I can have probably something like 2,000 guys if I wanted to. But I don't want to bring them in and it mess up the casualty rates of my army. So 832 is pretty good. So one of the first things you want to do when you go into lay siege, make sure your cohesion is full up. You use influence to raise your cohesion. Get that done. And long term, that's really worth it because in the end of the day, you're going to make more influence than you spend keeping your army together. So I'm going to lay siege to Dungarees here. Now, we just went to war with Sturgia here, and there's plenty of targets between us, so I'm not real worried of an opposing army coming in and attacking me from behind. And hopefully it doesn't happen. Now, when I originally did this, I did a bit of the second method that I'm going to talk to you about. But we're going to start with the first method. All right, besiege the town. So, obviously, at first you have to build your siege camp, and then you have options of what to do next. Now, the first option you have, which is what we're going to go with right now, is to simply attack your target. This results in the highest casualties, and the reason is because you're only going to have ladders. So this is great if you want to move quickly, hit your targets, and move on to the next, which is good if you know you have plenty of troops or you know you have a way to replenish your troops quickly. So I do have Carbanseth and Pendrick nearby, so if I do take heavy casualties, I can replenish my own party quickly. And there are plenty of nobles in the faction that I can call upon to reinforce my army after this is over, so I can continue my campaign against Sturgia. So that's fine, but this is only an option you want to take if you're okay with significant casualties. So I'm going to get into it. We're going to lead in assault. I do want to point out, using this method, you don't have a lot of options for joining the assault yourself. There's only 4 ladders, which is certainly better than the previous installment of this game. But if you try to climb to the top of the ladder yourself, you're going to get overwhelmed and killed very quickly. And then your army will most certainly get beaten very badly. Even if you do take the castle, you're going to take some heavy hits in the process. So if you are taking this method of rapidly assaulting the castle using ladders, your best bet is to stay on the ground, use your bow, and take pot shots. Okay, so we've come to the end of it, and you can see my casualties have been pretty rough. 297 dead, 258 wounded. I have 55 guys left ready to go into another fight. So if there's another army hanging around, I'm going to be in real bad shape. So the second option actually has a little bit of leeway on how you get it done. So same deal, you siege a town. Let's see, we can. All right, so you can build siege weapons, not that one. I want to build this one. Where's the other ones? Okay, so you can have the choice of 1 or 2 siege towers plus a battering ram. Now, if you do decide to use, there we go, there's the battering ram. Where is that last? There we go. Yep, there it is. All right. If you do decide to mix it up, you can just build the batarang, which is certainly not faster, and will definitely help with your casualty count. And your troops will still use ladders to go up on the sides where they normally would. You just have a batarang going down the center. That's going to help, but I strongly suggest going with the siege towers because it allows more troops to climb up and they have greater protection getting to the walls. And at the end of the day, you're just going to have a better chance using siege towers because you have more guys up there, and that just makes a huge difference, especially if you have higher quality troops, which most people do. So there are a couple reasons why this is the better method to choose. One, skill points. By just sitting here, you're going to gain skill points in leadership and engineering, and you'll probably gain influence too. If some of your other allied parties don't have food, you'll be sharing your food with them. You'll get influence. So I like this method for a couple of reasons. First off, your troops are protected on the approach from using the siege weapons or stand behind one of the siege towers, so they're not getting hit by as many defensive catapults or ballistas as they would otherwise, or just enemy arrows. Another reason to use all three is that defensive siege weapons will target your assaulting siege weapons. As you see, my battering ram is taking hits from looks like catapults, and it already has a good bit of damage. And that's what they're going to focus on. They're going to focus on this battering ram because that opens up a big hole in their defenses where troops can just pour through. Siege towers can be a problem, but the AI is pretty good about targeting what they know is going to be the biggest problem. All right, you can see my battering ram is probably just not going to make it. But that's okay because we have the siege towers, and that's good. Now, you do have a couple good combat choices here. I like to climb up the siege tower personally, but you can also go in through the... Ooh, that's not good. You can also go in through the battering ram. Now, usually these guys will run right up in here and hold you, but it looks like the AI has been improved since the last time I climbed up a siege tower. Oh, there we go. Now they're coming. So you sit here. I like climbing up the left side because it's a lot easier to swing your weapon and hit someone. Now this is actually quite a bit easier if you happen to have a spear, get a little bit more reach, and you can stay in a relative safety and just hack up the defenders as they come a little too close. Now as you can see over here on the left of it, the left, my battering ram was able to make it, although it is pretty badly damaged, but my troops are pouring in, and they are just mulching the defenders. So this has already made a huge difference in how this battle is going to play out. Okay, as you can see, the difference in having those siege weapons was huge. I only took 72 kills to my army and 60 wounded. Most of my army is still intact, and I could really handle another major battle or even a good siege. Now, the third and final method of laying siege involves the use of siege weapons. Now, the best ones to use are the trebuchets. They take the longest to build, but they hit the hardest, and they can take a lot of hits from defensive weapons before they're destroyed. So once one of your siege weapons is built, you want to do is move it directly into reserve so it doesn't continue to take damage. And then once all of them are built, and you're going to want 5. The reason why you want 5 is just in case one does get destroyed, you have one ready to go into the fight. So once you have 5 siege weapons, move it to reserve. Okay, very good. Once you have 5, you place all 5 siege weapons, and then you go to work breaking down the defenses of your target. That means you could build 4 catapults, 4 trebuchets, 4 ballistas, basically just 4 of each of the available ones. And that's fine. So there are a few advantages to using this method. The first advantage is your trebuchets will annihilate ballistas like nothing else. And unless the defenders are putting up trebuchets of their own, they really do not have a defensive chance in hell of stopping you. Another thing is the time it takes for this to happen. You will starve out your opponent. As you can see, their troop number is falling pretty rapidly. Every day that they're here without food, they're losing troops. Then, once you have these trebuchets going, they do a lot of damage. So they're going to be hitting enemy troops, which is going to weaken the defenses. And finally, the real reason why you want trebuchets is because they're going to open up these walls. You have two wall positions on here. They're going to open up. One's right here, one's here. The downside here, it does take a while. Now, you are going to get extra influence and extra leadership points and extra engineering points for having built all this stuff. And if you want, you can build the battering rams and siege towers. Really not worth it, in my opinion. I prefer to just build the trebuchets because if you build the others, you're going to have troops manning those. It takes a lot to get into the fight. Best thing, if you're using this method, is to simply build the trebuchets and then just let your troops pour through those walls. And there you have it. We have broken both wall sections, and all four of my trebuchets are still up. Not only that, we have starved the defenders down to 228 men. So this is going to go really badly for them. So the great thing about this is you can basically just ride straight up to one of the holes in the walls. Your men are just pouring through, and as soon as they come into contact with the enemy troops, it's almost a massacre. I mean, these guys, they don't stand a chance, especially if you're using higher quality troops like most people are when you launch an attack. You're going to come in here. It's a little bit crowded to get through the wall, but your men just pour in, and there's really nothing the defenders can do. You just come in and just start hacking and slashing. Look at that. I mean, I haven't even seen one of my guys fall yet. And that's it. Using this method, you could even attack with an inferior number force, and as long as they didn't sally out to attack you, which is just as good, you could still win. As you can see, I took 3 wounded, 0 deaths, and we just wiped them out. This battle was over so fast that the enemy routed almost as soon as the engagement began. So, as you can see, you do have 3 choices on how to lay siege. If you do use this third method, you do run the risk of an enemy army attacking you while you are laying siege. Most of the time, you'll probably be okay if you have a larger army yourself. But if not, you could end up between a rock and a hard spot, because if you are ambushed while laying siege by another army, then both the enemy army and the defenders will be attacking you. They still attack from one side instead of an army on either side of you, which is how it ought to be, frankly. But at the end of the day, it's still a lot of fun. So that, ladies and gentlemen, are the 3 primary methods of laying siege. Now, there is another way of sneaking in that requires a high roguery. I have not displayed that because I don't have a high rogue skill. If I do get to a high rogue skill later in the game, hopefully, I will show how to sneak into the target and open the gates. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video on how to lay siege to an enemy fief. This is the Irish Warrior, over and out.